In this video we're going to take a look at the HackTheBox starting point. So I'm going to assume anybody who's watching this video probably hasn't done any HackTheBox before and is probably new to hacking or information security as well. The HackTheBox starting point, essentially we have 3 tiers, each has 5 or 6 machines on it. And for each of those machines we'll boot it up, we'll have to do some kind of enumeration or exploitation and then answer a series of questions. So this is a bit different to the typical HackTheBox style where you have challenges and things available in different categories. You can see the list of categories here, but typically how people would play HackTheBox would be to hack the machines. So every week a new machine's released. Sometimes you'll get a short description, or in this case there's nothing at all, and you essentially have to go and spawn the machine and then try and get user privileges and then root privileges, and that's how you get your points. So there's very little guidance normally, which I guess is where this starting point comes in. This is a bit more similar to the try hack me style of a machine with a series of questions to answer, so you're doing a bit of kind of theory and practical. And you also have the academy here, so you can see for each tiers it recommends some different academy modules, which I haven't done much of, but is basically some kind of practical training to help you get started. I also have some links here on my GitHub, which is in the description, to some different resources in terms of capture the flags and hacking, and some good content creators and stuff to check out. So if you are new to this stuff and you're looking to find out where you can get some more content or more challenges or material to get working through, you can check that out on the GitHub. But let's get started with the tier 0 machines here anyway. As you can see here, the first thing that we need to do in order to get through to this Meow machine is connect to the virtual private network, and this will allow us to get access to the HackTheBox labs. So you can do that through OpenVPN configuration file, which you can download, and you can also do it through this Pwnbox, which is basically a browser-based VM. So I'm going to assume you're either using this or you have Kali Linux or Parrot or something similar installed. It doesn't really matter, as long as you can install the tools that are needed, that's fine. And then to connect to the VPN, what I have here is some bash aliases set up. If I do grep VPN from my bash aliases, you'll see that I have a few different ones set up. So if I do VPN tab, you can see here we've got VPN HackTheBox, VPN Release Arena, and VPN Try Hack Me. So I can very easily just swap between the various options. So I'm going to go with VPN HackTheBox, and all that's doing is it's just running this command that you see up here. So you can just run sudo openvpn and pass in your configuration file. And with that connected, now if we go and check our ifconfig, you can see that we've got this 10.10.14.14 address on our TUN0 adapter, and that's our IP address then on the HackTheBox network, which will mean that we can communicate with the machines that we're booting up here. So note that our first task here is to connect to the VPN, and it actually says that I haven't connected to the VPN yet. It's still telling me to connect. So I believe I need a specific VPN for the starting point. It's not the same as we use for the labs. So I had 2 VPN HackTheBoxes here. One was HackTheBox and one was this Release Arena. Whenever a new box comes out each week, you have this individual kind of Release Arena so that you can work on a box on your own. Typically you would just connect to your normal public or VIP network, depending whether you have the premium subscription. So that's fine. Alright, I need to download a new VPN, so I'll do that now. And let's save that. So I don't have an alias for this one. Let's just connect to this normally. So I'm going to do sudo open VPN, and then we'll pass in documents, no, not documents, downloads, and then the starting point VPN. Okay, let's go and check ifconfig again. You see we've got a new IP address. Instead of 14.14, we've got 14.61. And if we go back here, hopefully it's now going to say that we have connected. Yes, okay, there we go, 2 connections. 2 connections. Okay, I'm not sure what that's about, but that's fine. Let's spawn the machine as well. You can see we've got a walkthrough available for download here. So all of these starting point machines have walkthroughs. And typically with HackTheBox, you have active machines which walkthroughs aren't allowed for. No public walkthroughs are allowed. If you need help with the machine, you can go on the forum, or you can go on the HackTheBox Discord and ask for some nudges. But if the machines or the challenges are retired, then you can create walkthroughs. or you can just download the walkthroughs, which are normally provided, I think, either by the box creator or IPsec puts together the PDFs, I'm not too sure, and then there's normally some other community walkthroughs linked and stuff as well. Okay, so we've now connected, we've got this IP address. Let's go and answer some of these questions. The first question is, what does the acronym VM stand for? So that would be a virtual machine, and you can see that we have a hint option here as well if we get stuck in any of the questions. Speaking of virtual machines as well, I'm running this inside of VMware at the moment, VMware Workstation, but you can use VirtualBox or something else of your choice as well. We're asked in the second task, what tool do we use to interact with the operating system in order to start our VPN connection? So what did we use in order to run this command? And you can see the last character here is L, so this is going to be terminal. And task 3, what service do we use to form our VPN connection? And we used OpenVPN. What is the abbreviated name for a tunnel interface in the output of the VPN boot up sequence output? So we saw this as well. We can also go to our ifconfig, which was tun0. So we're tunneling our traffic through this VPN, which is going to encapsulate and encrypt our data. So tun will be our answer here. What tool do we use to test our connection to the target? Ping, which we haven't actually done. We should have done that. Let's get the IP. Where's the task? Task 5. Okay, so let's do that. Ping, give it the IP, and we're just verifying here that we're connected. Well, we know we're connected to the network because we ran ifconfig, but we're just verifying here that everything's working and we're able to communicate with the machine. It's able to communicate with us. And let's answer that question as well. What's the name of the script we used to scan the target's ports? Okay, well, it's looking for nmap there, but I wouldn't have called nmap a script myself. Let's do nmap and let's run all ports on, and let's do service enumeration as well. Just paste in that IP address. As I can see that it's going to ask us some questions about the ports here as well. But yeah, I guess it's looking for nmap. And task 7, what service do we identify on port 23 TCP during our scans? So we're going to need to wait for nmap to come back with all the results here. We could use the -v flag if we want to see ports as they're discovered here, and that means if you're in a rush or you want to be able to start looking at some services as you're going, that's a good idea to use it. I don't typically use it if I've got time because I don't like having the output at the end with all of the verbose kind of logging in it. Alright, so this came back. Port 23 is telnet anyway, we don't really need the scan to check that, or obviously if you're looking at all this stuff for the first time you would need that, but if you've done if you've hacked some boxes before or done any kind of penetration testing, you'll know some of these common ports. What username ultimately works with the remote management login prompt for the target? So we've got an idea here from the 4 characters placeholder, but let's go ahead and say telnet and then try and connect to this IP. If we weren't too sure what to do in this situation, we could do man telnet and get up the manual, or sometimes that's a bit overkill and you can just use something like telnet-h or --help. Yeah, okay, not with this tool. Alright, so we get to our login prompt. There's a few things this could be. It could be test, 4 characters, ends with a T. It's more likely to be root. And we get logged in there, so let's try and see if we can run commands. We can cat out this flag, and there we go. So this is typically what we'd see if we were doing a HackTheBox machine. We would need to first get user privileges, and we'd get a user.txt, and then we'd need to get root access, which is the highest level of privilege, and then we would just print out root.txt. Okay, so let's go back. I think that's everything then. Root was our username, and then our flag was HackTheBox, and then the hex characters that we just got from the flag.txt. We submit that, and then the machine's terminated. We get our congratulation message, and we can move on to the next machine. So let me minimize that. Let's go on to Fawn. We're already connected to the VPN. Let's spawn the machine. Let's go and clear out our terminal from the last one. This VPN, you can close this page down. I normally just close down the terminal that the VPN's opening, and then if you need to, you can just kill the process later on. In fact, what's happened to my VPN? Maybe I can't just do that. Okay, sudo open VPN. Let me do --config. Oh, what am I doing? Downloads, starting point. Alright, there we go. And this is booted up. We've got a new IP address. Let's just start off straight away and do our nmap scan. So I'm going to do all ports, and this time I'm just going to do the service enumeration as well. You could do -sc to run default scripts. You can do -a for aggressive, which will do most of the various flags, or a lot of the key ones anyway. You can do -o for OS detection. You can output to, say, XML with OX, or greppable format with OG, or all formats with OA. You can do a lot of stuff, but let's just try and scan the all ports. If you didn't specify all ports here, it would only scan the top 1000 ports. And if you want to do some specific ports, you could say here 22, 23. If you want to do TCP, you could do TCP 22 and 23, and then say UDP, I don't know, 111. Okay, so this is telling me the machine is down. Let's try that again. Maybe my VPN disconnected again. No, it's okay. That's interesting. Let's try and ping the machine and see whether we get anything back. Okay, it's communicating. Alright, so that's fine. Maybe we need to run a more stealthy scan. Let's try and do -ss. You can do other things like go and set -t4 and things like that. There are various levels you can set if you want to be a bit quieter with nmap. We might need to remove the service enumeration as well, but we'll see. It's taking a little bit longer anyway. Let's go ahead and start going through some of these questions. We don't need the port scan for all of this. It's asking us what is the 3-letter acronym for FTP, which is obviously File Transfer Protocol. It stands for a couple of other things as well, but I'll not say them on video and get demonetized. Let's submit that. Obviously, if you didn't know any of these answers, which if you're just starting out, you won't know all the answers, you can just go and Google FTP, and we shouldn't need to do much looking around to find out what it stands for. And next up is, what communication models FTP use architecturally speaking? Again, you can get an idea what this is from the size of the words and the dash that we have here. So this is going to be a client-server model. Let's have a look to see if our scan has come back. It did. Okay, so it successfully came back when we used this -ss flag. Came back with FTP, VSFTP, D 3.0.3. So typically if we were doing a penetration test, we were doing a HackTheBox machine here, we see this port open, we see this software version, we would probably take a copy of this and then try and have a look to see if there are any known exploits, which you can use searchsploit to look up, and this will basically look up the exploit database, which you can just go to the website as well if you prefer to just search for it that way. But if we do searchsploit VSFTPD3, and it'll come back with some potential exploits. Some of them will be available on Metasploit, and some of them will just be scripts that we need to copy. And you can copy those scripts. We can just take a copy of this and then say I do SSX because I have a alias set up for it, but you would, if you don't have an alias set up, you just do searchsploit-m to copy it to so you can copy the script to your desktop or wherever you are, or you can do -x and that will just bring it up so we can just have a read through it and see whether it's of interest to us. Okay, so let's go back to our questions anyway. We're now being asked, what is the name of one popular GUI FTP program? I would say here FileZilla, as it's the only FTP GUI program that I've used. What port is FTP active on usually? I'm actually unsure what this one is asking for. It's active on port 21, which is TCP. Oh, TCP, okay. 21 TCP, alright. I wasn't making a connection with that P there for some reason. Okay, which acronym is used for secure version. Okay, you could probably guess this even if you didn't know, but if we just search secure FTP, then we'll see SFTP versus FTPS. Okay, well, let's do SFTP, secure file transfer protocol. What is the command we can use to test our connection to the target? Alright, this was on the last one, so that's a nice easy one for us, ping. And we had to do that as well. What's the version of FTP running? It was VSFTPD 3.0.3. Again, just from our nmap scan. And from your scans, what operating system type is running on the target? We didn't do... oh, we did. It's got Unix here, okay. As I mentioned, you can use the -O flag as well for operating system detection. Let me try that again. So we'll submit Unix here. And then we're asked what is the root flag. Okay, so I like how it doesn't really give you too much of direction here. You still need to piece a couple of parts of the puzzle together. Alright, while that's running then, let's go and try and connect to this server. FTP, where's the IP address? FTP, I'll try and connect. And one thing that you can do here is try and connect with anonymous. So let me just search here, FTP anonymous login. And we'll just go for the first link here. Basically, if anonymous access is allowed on the FTP server, you'll be able to do it quite often, I think quite often without a password or just with a password as anonymous. But I believe that can quite often be the email address as well. So worth bearing in mind, one of the first things I would normally check with FTP is if we have that anonymous login. Let's try and enter here anonymous. It asks us for a password. Let's try and do anonymous again. Let me actually just try without a password. Okay, login successful. Great. And now we can just do our usual commands. We'll do ls to list directories. Let me see if we do help here, we can get a list of different commands that we can actually run. And what we want to do is get the flag. So let's do get flag.txt. There's no autocomplete there, as you might have noticed from our slow typing. But that's basically downloaded the flag file for us, and now we can go ahead and copy that. We could also try to see if we have write access, if we can actually write files to the FTP server. Sometimes you might see on machines that the FTP server is running, and if you have write access and then can access the FTP server through the web browser, you might be able to upload a PHP shell or something like that, and then actually go to the browser and visit the PHP file and get the reverse shell so that you have access to the box. Okay, but that's our second box done. Let's have a look and see what's next. Next up is dancing. It's also very easy. And we're already connected, so we need to spawn the machine. I actually forgot to look at the results of that other nmap scan that we did there, but oh well. We've got our new IP address. Let's go ahead and start an nmap scan. We'll do nmap, and then all ports, we'll just do our service enumeration. I don't want to add too many flags and slow the thing down when realistically what we're going to be asked for is probably not too much. Okay, that says it's down again. Let me get rid of that flag first of all, and let's try our nmap scan again. It might just be that the IP is not fully up and running yet. Let's do a ping and just verify that we are still connected and it is up and running. We send off our ping there and we're not getting any response. So at this point we might want to double check our connectivity. Make sure we're still connected to the lab network, which we are. So the chances are that it's just not finished booting up, or maybe it's not accepting pings. Oh, there we go, okay. Alright, so sometimes you just gotta wait for a couple of minutes for it to fully boot up. Let's try it again without the stealthy flag and just see whether we get some results with this one. The first question we're asked is, what does the three-letter acronym SMB stand for? So we can get a quick idea what this box is about, and that is the server message bus. No? Oh god. Server message block. What am I talking about? I never have to think about what's behind the acronym. Okay. What port does it usually operate on? And that would be port 445. Great. Again, these are just things that you'll get used to, but we can, if we're not sure, we can search SMB port. We'll get a list of various ports, 445, 139. I wonder, presumably that would have taken either for us then. And what network communication model does SMB use architecturally speaking? Is this the same as the last one? Client server model? It is. Alright, good stuff. What is the service name for port 445 that came up during our Nmap scan? Let's have a look. 445 Microsoft DS. Hopefully it's not looking for, it wasn't looking for the version, was it? Let's try it. Submit, great. What is the tool that we use to connect to SMB shares from our Linux distribution? Okay, well there's a few. We could use SMB map, or we could use SMB client, or probably some others as well, but considering it has a T at the end, it looks like it's looking for SMB client. Okay, we submit that. What is the flag or switch we can use with the SMB tool to list the contents of shares? It's -L, I believe. I get confused between the two tools though. That's right, okay. That's all good. Let's go and actually test out some of these commands that we're running as well, or that we're entering as answers. So again, we might want to do something here like SMB client -H if we don't know what the commands are. If this isn't enough for us and we want more explanations, we can do man to get the manual up, and that'll give us a lot more information on each of those options. In this case, we're going to do SMB client -L, which was the flag that we just gave as the answer to that, and then we'll paste in this IP address. It's asking for a password. We're going to try it without a password to begin with, and we get back some shares. So the question was asking us, what is the name of the share we're able to access in the end? And if we want to try and list that, let's try and do, you need to provide some backslashes for accessing the shares here. I'm assuming it's most likely going to be this work shares one. These are kind of default shares that you would often see. So I'm going to try and provide that. No, okay, let me take away that L. I think you need the, not enough characters. Oh, I'm doing backslashes, very sorry, it's forward slashes. See, it's been a while since I used this. Alright, so we get access to our SMB, and as predicted, it's the work shares one. We've got two users, amy.j and james.p, and we can just do our usual commands here. So if we want to check our help, we'll get a list of commands that we can run, kind of similar ones that we saw in FTP. We can put things and we can get things and etc. mget to get multiple files. We can cd around, so we can cd into amy.j and have a look around in there. We've got some work notes. Let's get the work notes. Still no autocomplete. Oh, trying to W get it. Alright. And now it's not letting me type any commands. I think I've broken the... Interesting. Alright, let's take a copy of that again. Let me submit that as an answer as well. Work shares. What is the command that we can use within the SMB shell to download the files we find? Get. Okay, great, submit that. Let's try and connect again. Let me just see if it's... Okay. We seem to have been disconnected. The IP is still up, but it's not responding to pings again. Okay, I waited a couple of minutes and it just suddenly started sending the pings back, so it seems to be back up and running. I must say that it seems to be a lot more unstable than HackTheBox's typical network, unless it's just some problems we're having tonight. Alright, let's go in and try and get that again. We'll do get worknotes.txt and let's print those out. And it's saying start the Apache server on the Linux machine, secure the FTP server, and set WinRM on dancing. Okay, none of those looks like a flag, so let's go and take a look at the other directory, which is for James P. And we have a flag here, so we'll get flag.txt, we'll cat the flag out, we'll remove the flag, and let's go and submit it. Okay, HackTheBox, root flag. Alright, so that's the third machine done. We've got our congratulations. And let's take a look at explosion. Again, we need to spawn the machine, so we'll wait for that to boot up. Okay, so that's booted up. I left it for a minute or two as well, just to hopefully allow it to actually boot up all the services and things like that, but apparently not. It's still waiting for the pings. Alright, let me come back when this starts responding to pings. Okay, I waited another couple of minutes and we're getting some responses now, so let's go ahead and start an nmap scan. We'll just do the same thing, all ports, service enumeration, and the IP address. And let's go and take a look at the questions. I'm not sure why they're taking so long to boot up and why they're freezing or crashing. Maybe it's the network I'm connected to, as I connected to that VIP1, and there are various networks that you can try. So if you're having some problems, maybe try and swap network anyway. We're asked first of all, what does RDP stand for? And that is the Remote Desktop Protocol. Submit. And what is the three-letter acronym that refers to interaction with the host through the command line interface? Presumably it's the command line interface, i.e. the CLI. Yep, okay. What about the graphical user interface? Again, it's just the acronym. So the acronym for command line interface is CLI, the acronym for graphical user interface is GUI, or GUI as some people say. What is the name of an old remote access tool that came without any encryption by default? It's 6 letters and ends with a T. So based on that, could be Netcat or Telnet. Let's go with Telnet, and that's all good. We have, what is the concept used to verify the identity of a remote host with SSH connections? So SSH connections use public-private key encryption. So you have symmetric encryption, like AES and DES, which would have the same key to encrypt and decrypt data. And then you have asymmetric encryption, like RSA, for example, where you generate a public and a private key, and people can use your public key to encrypt data for you, but only you who hold the private key can decrypt that data. And you can also use your public key to sign data that you're publishing or sending out, so that people can verify that it's from you. So you would sign it with your private key, and then they could verify that with the public key. So think of things like PGP as an example of that. So here it's looking for public key cryptography. Submit that. And what's the name of the tool that we can use to initiate a desktop projection to our host using the terminal? And the most common tool for this is RDesktop, Remote Desktop. Oh, no it's not. X3 RDP. Yeah, okay. Is RDesktop even a thing? Yeah, okay, it is. I was getting confused there. I thought maybe RDesktop was just an alias that I had set up for X3 RDP. Okay, so I mean, you could go in your terminal. You can see we've got our nmap scan back there. We can do X3 RDP here. Get up our help options. We've got our desktop here as well. We don't. Okay. RDP. Do I have anything set up there? Our desktop. Okay, so I have an RDP. I don't know if this is just an alias that's set up here because it's trying to call our desktop and it doesn't have our desktop. Presumably, if you wanted our desktop, you could just do sudo apt-get install our desktop. Yeah, alright, so we can install that as well. Various tools, as always, to get the job done. But let's go back here and see what it's asking for. What is the name of the service running on port 3389, which is typically our remote desktop service. And 3389, we have here the MSWBT server, Microsoft Terminal Services. Submit that. And what is the switch used to specify the target host's IP address when using X3 RDP? Good question. So I very rarely use X3 RDP. The last time that I was really using it was for OSCP, which was several years ago, and I actually just had an alias set up to run it because you didn't typically want to run it at full screen. You kind of just wanted it to maybe take up like 75% of your screen. But we can just open up our help menu here, X3 RDP. Wow, we've got a lot of help options for this one. Failed, okay. And it looks like we can use this -v. Is that what it's asking us for? What is the switch used to specify the target host IP address? It looks like it's this -v colon. Let's have a look. Submit that. Brilliant. So we've got all our questions correct. Now we need to go and get this flag. So obviously we need to make use of this RDP protocol. So let's just see if we can connect to it without any kind of passwords or anything then. We'll grab this IP address. Let's do x3 RDP, and then it wanted did it want, I've forgotten the command already. I think it's /v colon and the IP address. Looks like it, yeah. Alright, we'll say we do trust the certificate. It's asking us for a domain, a password. I'm just going to leave all that as default. And we get an error. Okay, so that didn't actually allow us to connect. It's saying password certainly expired. Is it telling us anything else? Explosion is the common name. Version mismatch, okay. So we could take some of these errors, either this error code here or this error here, and just go and Google it and see what we get. See if other people have had similar problems and how they fixed it. We've got the GitHub here for free RDP. So we could go and look through that. That's somebody who's having a similar problem. Normally I would just go and scroll through these and see if anybody has found a fix for it. What was the fix here? Maybe OpenSSL issue. Workaround was to resolve the target fully qualified domain name and connect with the IP. It's not ideal. Workaround, okay. What I might try and do, seeing as we installed our desktop as well, let's have a look at the help options for that. Our desktop, we can provide a user, domain, password, etc. By the way, in terms of passwords, you can use encrack, which is a RDP cracking service, or I guess it does other services, but it's by Nmap and can be used to crack RDP credentials. Various other modules here you can see as well, and you can also use something like Hydra to do the same thing. But I'm assuming this doesn't have a password on it. Let's try and connect with our desktop. Let me grab the server. Is it because did we miss the port number there? Was it the port required maybe? It should have just gone for the default. Let's try our desktop. Do we trust the certificate? Yes, we do. And we run into another problem. Failed to connect. Cred SSP required by server. Check if server is disabled. Old TLS versions. If yes, use -v option. So we could go around and start Googling to see what this is about as well, but both tools have come back with a similar problem, so it doesn't look like it's a tool. Maybe it's the box, maybe it's something that we're doing. Let's try and connect with a username. Let's see what the flag is for our desktop. Yeah, -u. Could have probably guessed that easy enough. Let's try and connect as the administrator, as we don't have any other potential users. If we knew what the names of some of the users would be, we would have a better chance, but we can guess here that something like administrator or something like guest might work as a username. It's taking a little while. Let's also try that with x3 RDP as well. So x3 RDP, let's take this IP address again. It was v/ and then colon IP address, and then presumably let's see if we can just do user administrator here as well. Hostname was not specified. Okay, no, I don't really know what the flags are. Let's have a look. Let's see if this one's come back with anything. It hasn't. Okay, we've got an example here. This is an example providing a password. Okay, so we need to use the similar kind of flag here, /u. So I'm going to run that again, and let's change this to /u, and we need to go and fix our v as well. It was /v. Try that. Still no result with our desktop. It's asking us again, do we want to trust the certificate? Yes, we do. It's asking us for a password, blank again, and no, we run into the same problem. Error, connect, password certainly expired. I also realized there we were using the wrong, we spelt the administrator wrong there. Administrator. Let's try that again. Exact same problem. Okay, so what I'm going to do is have a look and see what we would do when we get stuck on something for a little while, is see what the official walkthrough is doing, because obviously we're just in the learning process, as I apparently am, of how to use RDP. But it's a good opportunity to check out the walkthrough as well. So this actually looks like it's very well put together. We've got some nice diagrams here and explanations about the various tools, which is good to go through. So I guess even if you make it through all of these questions without going through the walkthrough, it's probably worth having a look to see if there's anything in there which has been missed. I can see here immediately that they are using a /sir ignore command on their x3 rdp command. So let's run that again, and let's just paste in sir ignore, see if we get a connection this time. Okay, we still don't get a connection, failed to connect. Let me try that again. I'm going to run nmap again and just make sure we've still got, let's run nmap on port 3389. I mean, I'm pretty much copying and pasting what we have here. Target IP, sir ignore, and then user administrator. Or have I got the username spelt incorrectly again? Oh, the host is down. Okay, that would make sense then. So it looks like the box has gone offline again. Let's wait for that to come back up. I'm going to do our ping again, and we'll just run the ping until we've got the server back up. Okay, it's back. It took maybe a minute or two again, but we've got a connection. I'm not sure why the box keeps resetting or why the services keep resetting. It's been happening on all of the boxes so far. Okay, let's try the same command again. It asks us for a password, empty password. We get an internal error. Okay, so that's the same error that we got previously. Oh, I do have the username spelled incorrectly. Administrator. Let's try that again. Empty password, no errors, and we've got a remote desktop screen finally. Awesome. So let's grab our flag. We might not be able to copy and paste this. Let's see. Brilliant. Alright, that was slightly harder than the other three, unless maybe it's just me, maybe other people got through that very easily, but I think the fact that the services keep resetting makes it a bit confusing, because I don't know whether I'm doing something wrong or whether there's just problems with the box. But okay, let's go on to our final machine. I'm going to spawn a machine here, just come back. I'll leave it a few minutes here to boot. Alright, so I left it a couple of minutes to boot up. Let's first of all make sure we're connected this time with the ping before we waste time doing a nmap scan, and we are, so we'll do nmap, all ports, and service enumeration. By the way, when we're doing all ports there, we're doing all TCP ports. If you want to do all UDP ports, you would need to pass in this -su flag, and if you do that, it'll only do the UDP ports, it won't actually do any TCP. Typically what I do is I run mass scan, which is a lot quicker for scanning all the ports, and I'll scan all TCP and UDP ports and then pass the ones that are open into a more detailed nmap scan. And the first question that we're asked here is, what is considered to be one of the most essential skills to possess as a penetration tester? And I'm really not too sure what the answer is supposed to be for this one. I mean, there's a lot of important skills. You need to be good at, obviously, your enumeration, your exploitation, your pivoting, your persistence and things like that, but you also need to be good at writing reports and communicating your findings in a way that's easily understandable for people of different technical levels. It looks like, based on what we have here, 3-letter word and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-letter word, it actually looks like the answer is pen testing, but that really would be a strange answer considering the question. What else could this be? Let's go back to our nmap scan and see what we identified here as the open port. This time it was port 80, and we've got Nginx, or Nginx, which I suppose is the correct pronunciation. I'm going to keep saying Nginx because I think that's better. And it's 1.14.2, so we could go ahead and say we want to do our search exploit. I've got a alias set up for that, so I can just do it like that. you might want to take away some of the version in there as well, because sometimes the version won't show. Like if we search there 1.14.2, it might not show up, but it might say that everything below 1.15 is vulnerable. As you can see with some of these, well, you can kind of see the version in here. So we're not looking for a vulnerability at the moment anyway. Let me get that nmap scan back up. Let's go and open this up as in our browser, see if we can have a look at it. Nothing here, we've just got a welcome page. We might want to go and try and do things like robots.txt. Not found, okay. Go and try some general directories, go and try things like index.php, admin.php. Oh, we actually found an admin login, okay. That was purely by accident, I've not looked at this challenge at all. And there we go, we just logged in with admin and got our flag. So it looks like I've actually just solved the root part of the challenge before actually going through it. Okay, but I just guessed this was admin.php. What we would typically want to do here is do some fuzzing or directory busting, which we can use a variety of tools for. You can use wfuzz, you can use ffuff, which is very fast. You can use dirb or dirbuster. I actually quite like dirbuster just by OWASP because it's got a graphical user interface which allows you to go and kind of look through the results in a tree form. But typically what I use is GoBuster. So we can run GoBuster here, just get an idea of the help of the menu we've got here. So we can do directory busting, we can do DNS enumeration, general fuzzing, S3 bucket enumeration mode. And then if we want more information we can say GoBuster directory and then help, or just GoBuster directory, or no, GoBuster help directory, and that'll give you the list of various flags and commands we can use for that specific option. I actually have an alias set up here called GoBusters, which will just basically run a couple of these flags for me so that all I need to provide is the URL and then any extensions that I want. But in this case, because I'm just kind of demonstrating this, let me show what you would need to run on your system. So we do GoBuster directory mode, pass in -u as the flag, and that's where we'll specify our URL. And then we need to specify a word list. I'm going to do user share word lists. You can see we've got some different ones here. I'm going to go into the directory busting one and then use the directory list, lowercase 2.3 medium. Doesn't really matter too much. You can pick your word list of choice. It's a pretty standard one. And I'm also going to use -x as an extension option. So I'm going to say I want you to try all of the directories in this word list, but I also want you to try all of those with a PHP at the end, with a TXT at the end, and with a HTML at the end. Obviously that'll vary depending on what type of server you're looking at. You can see it very quickly found admin.php there. And it's now a bit more clear that now that we've looked at the actual challenge, it's a bit more clear what they want as the answer here, which is going to be dirbusting. So we'll submit that as the first answer. It's asking what switch do we use for nmap scan to specify we want to perform version detection. That was the -s capital V flag. Again, I didn't go through this in the video, but you can just do nmap and it'll give you a list of all these options. If you want it more detailed, you can do man nmap, and that'll explain all the options and give you a lot of different examples and stuff. Okay, so that's the first two questions. What have we got? What service type is identified as running on port 80? Let's go back to our nmap scan. It was Apache, no, it was Nginx. Did it ask just for the version? What service type? Oh, sorry, it's HTTP. Submit that, and what is the service name and version? That's what I was looking at. Submit that. What is a popular directory busting tool that we can use? There's a lot of different ones, as we kind of went through there. Let me actually see, does it take different ones? Let's try dirbuster. It doesn't know, so it probably wants GoBuster then. Submit, yeah, okay. You could have probably taken a few different options there. What switch do we use to specify the GoBuster we want to do directory busting? And that was the dir. What page is found? And that is admin.php. Presumably it's not going to find anything else then. See, we've actually run into some errors here. But yeah, it found admin.php, which we also just guessed manually. What's the status code reported? Should be 200, but let's just double check. Yep, status code 200. Sometimes you might find that servers will return 200 for every possible file type. And in that case, you would want to say that you want to filter by the length of the response or some regex that's in the response. Kind of similar to if you're brute forcing a login page. The login page might come back with a 200 whether or not you enter in a valid or invalid password. So you'd want to look for successful login or login failed or something like that in the response to know that you found the right password or not. Okay, so 200, submit, and we already grabbed the root flag. So HTTP and submit. Okay, great, that was a lot smoother than the fourth machine. And we've made it through all of the tier 0 machines. So in the next video we'll take a look at tier 1. And let's see, do we have the same, there's 6 boxes in the next one, and it looks like there's some more tasks in them as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video anyway, a quick intro into hacking boxes on HackTheBox, and hopefully you'll stick around for the next video where we go through the tier 1 and then the tier 2 challenges, and then go and check out some of the boxes and some of the challenges or some of the battlegrounds and stuff that you have available on HackTheBox. And that's going to wrap it up for this video anyway. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Thanks.